Welcome, everybody. I am so excited to have you here today. We got people joining us from YouTube. We got people joining us from Facebook. And I'm super excited to be here with Cassandra Williams. Thank you so much for being here. First, I'd like to tell you a little bit about School AI. School AI is a company that is working to set teachers free and help them be the best that they can be with using AI as a tool to help them improve what they're doing. So we're talking about things like preparing lesson plans in a simple and easy way, of course, attuned to whatever your particular district format is. We're talking about frictionless formative assessment and getting data from students in the moment and being able to provide one-to-one coaching for specific students. And we're going to show a little demo of that, hopefully at the end of this today. And let me tell you, it is amazing when you think about bringing your students in and having them learn and get better right there in the moment using the power of artificial intelligence. So first question is, how has AI already impacted your work?
Oh man. So, wow. I mean, just being able to get ideas. AI has been great with kind of thinking of sometimes with feedback, with questions that you want to really support each individual teacher. You kind of got to dive in and go a little deeper. So AI really gives me questions that I can ask my teachers to really get them to see some of the data points that I've pulled from their classroom. So
really powerful. Okay, next question is, what are the benefits and drawbacks that you anticipate as education embraces AI?
I'm thinking with AI and broadband and technology, just access to different curriculum, modules, sessions, other opportunities. It can be so powerful, but I do think the drawbacks are like maybe people abusing it, or maybe so much content coming from it that it maybe hinders students from actually doing other alternative measures for finding work and research. So
I do think some of those risks do exist for sure. And I think there's definitely a risk of not doing the work that we need to do and passing it off to let something else do it for us. But like you, I see a lot of benefits, especially in the access arena, where being able to access things that you wouldn't be able to access otherwise is really powerful. How will AI change the role of instructional coaches?
I don't know. I think it'll give us just more tools. We can have asynchronous learning. So we can program maybe mini modules for teachers, as well as give them the face-to-face, so we can kind of differentiate the support that we give our teachers.
Yeah, one of the things that we're building with School AI that's really cool is getting to know your students in ways that you may not get to know them. So, for example, as we're doing the assessment at the end of a lesson, adding in a question about what their favorite band is so that it will then create a Spotify playlist based on what all the kids in your class said they like. So you can have like a period 3 language arts Spotify playlist that will have a song from every kid's favorite band, which would be a pretty cool thing to do. So think about that
Yeah.
personalization when it comes to instructional coaches with what they could do with the teachers that they work with. I think the possibilities are endless. Last question in the hot seat is, what
Okay.
skills will students need to learn to succeed in the future?
Wow. I really think we are going global. We are thinking about, like, of course, digital literacy is helping us equal the playing field. Everybody's using mobile devices, the internet, of course, critical thinking, problem solving to the current issues from global warming. It'll help us analyze information more, like with data sets. And just being creative. I think it will help other creatives because we have access to internet and broadband. We will be able to think outside the box and learn from everybody in the world. That's kind of the way I see it.
Now, I want you to think for just a moment as you're watching this. Think of an example of a student whose life was changed by the impact of a teacher and that didn't show up on the test. How hard is that? That's not very hard, right? Because we all know that these things happen. Now, think about yourself as a coach. What kind of impact have you had on a teacher that didn't show up on their test results?
Right.
Tons, right? And so it's easy to get discouraged and think I'm not making a difference. And it's easy to feel like you're trying and working really hard and it's just not coming together because you're not seeing the test score results. But here's the whole point. Even without that, you can show how what you're doing is really powerful. That's where we come to the identify your approach and the parameters that you're using. So think about what the leadership wants and how can you take the information that you're getting and get something back that shows how this was beneficial. So we're going to then go to interacting with ChatGPT for ideas and evidence and manipulating our data to make it show what we need to show. Now, the key piece here is how do we turn qualitative data into quantitative data? Cassandra, do you mind sharing a few of the things that you collect as a coach when you're working with teachers?
Yeah, so of course I collect, usually I'm doing evidence of what's going on in the classroom. Like I could do timestamps. So it would be like engagement, how much teacher talk versus student talk. It may be maybe the teacher's using strategies like pacing. So I always have to think about what's good. And then I constantly track using timestamps. At this time, you called on John 4 times. So these are like factual evidence that she can refer to, like, yeah, I did call on John a lot. And if I see a lot of that in my note-taking skills, then I realize, oh, this is one skill we need to work on.
So for those who don't know, I'm sure you all do, but just making sure, scripting is where you write out everything that happens in a lesson, and you write out what the teacher says, what she does, all that stuff. And if you can do that and then bring it into ChatGPT, you can quantify some of that stuff and show those things that you're talking about. And I'm going to pull up this data that I brought, and that should be, there we go. Okay, so this is, of course, a little bit difficult to see because it's on a small screen, but I just want to show a couple things here. Number one, I didn't want people's email addresses to be showing up here for all the world to see after they submitted this to me, and I didn't want to use their private data to share with everybody else. So first thing I did is I used ChatGPT to make up new names for everybody who's on here. So there was nobody named Michael Chen or Sarah Patel or Maria Garcia in this thing. And what's cool is that I could instantly anonymize it and have no way of telling who did what, which I want to respect people and respect their privacy. And so that's important to me. So I talked about this before. This is the, as a result of this workshop, what is one way you will lead up? And everybody's responses, I wanted to just see the sentiment. I didn't add this into the presentation because I didn't think it was very pertinent. So I have positive, neutral, neutral, positive, positive, etc. Thankfully, no negatives on this one, but mostly positive and neutral. And I just got the sentiment. This next question over here in column E, that is green here and now a little blue. So this is what they answered. And then I put the category of communication, DISC personality, mindset, and vision. Those were the 4 things that people were commenting on most of all. And so I was able to see what everybody said. These are my ugly Google graphs. I like the ones I made in the slideshow better. So, okay. So then we got their commitments. Again, these were categories, things that we could do different, and titles for next steps. I put those on here also. I wanted it to summarize it in 3 words or less, which was kind of cool. Just wanted to be able to read through it real quick and get the gist. It did a pretty good job of that. I didn't include that either. And then finally, we have here the tags. And so I did location, topic, time, activity, connection, collaboration, and content. and the AI was able to pull out and say, none of this applied, and these are all the tags. And what was cool about this is that I could see how many people said each tag, and then I could bring that into a Wordle cloud and do some cool things with that. And then finally, the categorization of the final things they said, gratitude and praise, which we talked about. Now, think about any form results that you get from your people, what you can do, and you can start doing some of this stuff as well.
I am going to share my screen with you. You heard me explain it. Now you get to see the visual. So here's what I was talking about before. So it crafts a summary for you. Off the wall, try something new example. These learning outcomes are what I mentioned a second ago, where these learning outcomes are going to dictate the assessment that auto-generates for you at the end of the class period. There's introductions, analysis, creating examples of personification. The beautiful thing here, as I mentioned before when you couldn't see my screen, the teacher is a professional in the classroom. And so it's going to give you recommendations, whether it's in paragraph form here, or if I go to a different example, you'll see bulleted list here. And what you can do is you can actually edit this list and custom tailor it to your specific plan that you want to get done as a teacher, right? So important, as you know best what your students need in the classroom. Now, the example I was giving of the pulse assessment at the end of the class. So here's what that looks like, is you would come in here as the teacher, and you would choose to pulse students. You could choose to do this daily. You can choose to do this at the end of the week. You could choose to do this as a review before a big test. Whenever you want to get a pulse and check and see where are my students at, this is when you want to do this. And so you would send this out to all the students' phones, their Chromebooks, whatever tech they're using in the class. And now I will stop sharing to come back with you. So what happens with that pulse is you actually get the opportunity to see the teams or the participants' responses flowing in as they're participating in that assessment. But this isn't just a static assessment where there's a question and an answer. It is highly personalized in that it becomes a text conversation with an AI tutor that is walking your students through the process of what they're understanding and what they're not understanding. So what this is going to do is it's going to take those outcomes, those objectives that come within each lesson, and it's going to help those students understand those outcomes and walk them up Bloom's taxonomy so that they're understanding how to analyze and evaluate and ultimately to take what they've learned and create something new on their own. The beauty here is that if we would have told this to you 6 months ago, it would have been science fiction. But with the rollout of this technology, it is now possible that we can increase the use of best practices in the classroom. We can more personally individualize learning while we save teachers time and lighten the load off of a teacher's plate. This is the type of thing that the teachers in your community are going to be thanking you for introducing them to. Right now, CoTeacher is 100% free. We are in beta, and it's free for teachers to use. So that's for you. That's for the teachers in your community. What we have here is, thank you so much for dropping that link. So if you go to SchoolAI.com, we have two options for you. One, you can hop on a wait list. And that wait list is for those of you listening today who are saying, hey, this looks really cool, and I really want to use a version that's polished. And so once things are tested out and you've confirmed that they're working, I don't want to see it in beta. I want to get it when it's a little more polished. You want to join the wait list. For those of you who are saying, I want first access to the different features as they roll out, I want to have my fingerprints all over this product because I want to provide feedback. I want to have my influence shape how those lesson plans are going to be crafted, and I want to help refine the model. Then the second option is to make yourself a VIP. that option, we'll book a call with me or one of my colleagues, and we will invite you to be on the inside, helping us craft this tool so that it is the best tool in the world to help teachers around the world. That is what I have for you today. So again, go to schoolai.com to hop on the wait list or become a VIP. Thank you so much for having that screenshot up for us here. That this is what you can expect to see when you go to schoolai.com and click on Get Started.